The scalpel dug sharp and unyielding into the soft skin of Evelyn Carter's neck, and in that single, terrifying instant, the woman she had judged as permanently catatonic spoke for the first time in 6 long months. It was 2 o'clock in the morning in Manhattan, the kind of night where rain slammed against the floor-to-ceiling windows of her exclusive private psychiatric clinic with enough force to make the glass rattle. Outside, the city burned with cold, distant lights, a sea of wealth and noise that felt worlds away from the sudden, suffocating stillness inside the room. Evelyn had just finished her nightly documentation on the patient who had made her famous across the country. Lena Voss, 28 years old, the widow of billionaire financier Julian Voss, had been arrested for his brutal murder and then withdrawn into a state of total, unbreakable silence. No speech. No eye contact. No reaction to kindness, to cruelty, to pain, to hunger, to fear. The media had given her a nickname that spread like wildfire. The silent patient. Legal experts called her a lost cause. Psychiatrists labeled her a medical mystery, a textbook case of severe traumatic mutism. And Evelyn Carter, the youngest certified psychotherapist in New York with a client list filled with billionaires, celebrities, and political figures, had been appointed by the court as the only medical professional allowed to treat her. For 6 months, Evelyn had studied her, prodded her, tested her, and documented every tiny movement. She had stood in front of cameras and spoken for Lena, painting her as a broken, fragile woman trapped inside her own mind. She had built her own rising fame on the back of the silent woman who never answered. She had believed she held complete control. She had been dangerously, fatally wrong. The scalpel had been Evelyn's own, left carelessly on her desk after a routine physical check. One moment, Lena had been sitting motionless in the armchair, her gaze fixed on a blank spot on the wall, her posture empty and lifeless, as she had been for half a year. The next, she moved with shocking speed and precision, her fingers closing around the small metal blade, twisting it in her hand, and pressing it to Evelyn's throat before the therapist could so much as gasp. The security cameras in the room flickered once and died. The alarm system fell completely silent. The bodyguard stationed outside the door did not move, did not make a sound, did not attempt to intervene. Lena's face remained eerily calm, almost peaceful. Her voice, when it finally came, was low, clear, and ice-cold, with no trace of fragility, confusion, or madness. "Dr. Carter," she said, "you always assumed I was silent because I could not speak. That was your very first mistake." Evelyn froze completely, her pulse hammering so violently in her ears that she could barely hear her own thoughts. She could feel the thin edge of the scalpel breaking the surface of her skin, a faint prickle of blood beating beneath it. All her years of training, all her polished poise, all her arrogant confidence dissolved in a single breath. This was not the empty shell she had been treating. This was not a victim of trauma. This was a predator. "You can speak," Evelyn whispered, her voice shaking uncontrollably. Why would you pretend?" Lena's lips curved into a faint, cruel, and utterly controlled smile. "Because silence is the most powerful weapon a person can wield," she said. "You turned me into a ghost, now ghosts have the power to haunt you." The room remained quiet except for the relentless drum of rain against the windows. Evelyn's mind raced, grasping for any logical explanation. Mutism did not simply vanish. Trauma did not reverse itself in a single second. This was impossible. This defied every medical textbook she had ever studied. And yet the sharp pressure of the scalpel against her throat did not lie. "Let me guess," Lena continued, her tone soft but deadly, each word cutting through the air like a knife. "You told everyone I was catatonic. You told the court I was unfit to stand trial. You told the police I had no understanding of what I did. You even told yourself that you were helping me, that you were trying to heal me." Evelyn swallowed hard, her throat moving dangerously close to the blade. "I was trying to treat you." "Treat me?" Lena laughed, a quiet, humorless sound that sent chills racing down Evelyn's spine. "You were not treating me. You were using me. You were covering your own tracks." The words hit Evelyn like a physical blow. Her face paled until it was the color of paper. She opened her mouth to deny it, to scream, to argue, but no sound came out. Lena pressed the scalpel slightly harder, just enough to remind her who held absolute power in that room. Julian did not die by my hand, she said, quiet enough that only Evelyn could hear. He died by yours. For 6 long, agonizing months, Lena Voss had played the part of the silent patient perfectly. She had stopped eating until medical staff had been forced to insert a feeding tube. She had stopped responding to sound, to touch, to light, to darkness. She had stared at walls for hours on end without blinking, without shifting, without showing any sign that she was aware of the world around her. She had let doctors poke her, test her, label her, and write her off as permanently damaged beyond any hope of repair. She had let Evelyn Carter stand in front of cameras and speak for her, turning her into a tragic, helpless figure for the public to pity and the media to exploit. And all the while, she had been listening. Every single word. Every private conversation. Every confidential phone call Evelyn had assumed no one could hear. Every lie she had told to the police, to the court, to her own colleagues. You killed him. Lena repeated, her voice calm and unshakable, as if she were discussing the weather rather than a brutal murder. You and your partner. You killed Julian because he found out what you were doing behind his back. Evelyn's carefully constructed composure cracked at the edges. That is not true. You shot him. The evidence. The evidence you planted. Lena cut her off without hesitation. The gun you placed in my hand while I was drugged. The sedatives you slipped into my drink to make me disoriented and compliant. The testimony you bought from corrupt members of staff. The forensic reports you altered with money and threats. Each sentence stripped away another layer of Evelyn's carefully crafted lie. Every secret she thought she had buried was being dragged into the light. You thought I would never remember. Lena said. You thought I would never speak. You thought I was too broken, too weak, too damaged to ever fight back. Evelyn's hands trembled so violently that she could barely keep them at her sides. She had been so sure. She had covered every track. She had bribed every official who could be bought. She had manipulated every record, every witness, every piece of evidence. She had even convinced herself that Lena was truly insane, truly unable to comprehend what had happened around her. But the woman holding the scalpel was not insane. She was sharp. She was aware. She was deliberate. She was avenging. Julian discovered your fraud. Lena continued, her tone steady and unforgiving. You had been embezzling money from his charitable foundation for years. You moved funds through fake offshore accounts, laundered it through your clinic, and lived a life of obscene luxury while his charity collapsed and the people it was meant to help suffered. When he threatened to expose you, to ruin everything you had built, you decided to eliminate him. Evelyn's throat went dry, her mouth tasting like metal. How could you possibly know that? I heard you on the phone. Lena said simply. I heard you talking to the man you hired to kill him. I heard you plan every detail. I heard you blame me for his death before you even pulled the trigger. She had been there. She had heard everything. And she had pretended to be too far gone to understand, too lost in her own mind to react. You made me silent. Lena said. So I could listen without being seen. So I could watch you destroy yourself without raising a single finger. Evelyn's mind scrambled desperately for an escape. The bodyguard was just outside the door. The police were only a phone call away. She could scream. She could fight. She could run. But as she tried to reach for the phone on her desk, Lena's free hand snapped forward and slammed it face down, cutting off any chance of a call. Your bodyguard will not help you. Lena said. Evelyn frowned, confusion mixing with her terror. What are you talking about? He works for me. He works for me. Lena corrected, her voice cold and final. He has been working for me since the day you locked me inside this clinic. The revelation hit Evelyn like a truck slamming into her chest. The bodyguard, a quiet, imposing man named Marcus Cole, had been hired personally by Evelyn to ensure Lena did not harm herself or others. Evelyn had trusted him completely. She had never suspected he was anything more than a professional, a man simply doing his job for money. Marcus is my brother, Lena said, watching the horrible realization dawn on Evelyn's face. You hired the one man in this city who would never let you hurt me. You locked me in a cage with my only ally. You built your own prison and you handed me the key. Evelyn felt her legs go weak. She had constructed a perfect prison, one she believed was impenetrable. And inside that prison, her victim had been quietly building a noose. All this time. Evelyn whispered, her voice hollow. You were just awaiting. Lena smiled faintly, a smile that held no warmth. I was waiting for the right moment, she said. And that moment is now. Evelyn Carter had spent her entire life believing she was smarter than everyone else. She had climbed her way to the top of New York's high society not through hard work or kindness, but through manipulation. She read people's weaknesses. She used their secrets against them. She lied, she cheated, and she betrayed without a single flicker of guilt. She had built her reputation on absolute control. She controlled her patients. She controlled her staff. She controlled her public image. She controlled every tiny detail of her life. Now, that control was being ripped away from her, piece by piece. Lena stepped back slightly, lowering the scalpel but keeping it firmly in her hand. She did not need to threaten violence anymore. The threat of total exposure was more than enough to destroy Evelyn completely. You think you are untouchable, Lena said. You think your money, your fame, your powerful connections will protect you from anything. But you made one fatal mistake that nothing can fix. She paused, letting the words sink into Evelyn's mind like poison. You underestimated a silent woman. Evelyn's hands were shaking so badly she could barely stand upright. What do you want? Money? I can pay you. I can give you anything you want, houses, cars, diamonds, whatever you desire, just let me go. I want everything you took from me. Lena said coldly, without a single hint of mercy. I want my name back. I want my freedom. I want my life restored. And I want you to pay for every lie you told, every crime you committed, every person you hurt in your greedy pursuit of power. She reached into the pocket of her simple white patient uniform and pulled out a small, sleek recording device, its screen dark but its memory full. Evelyn's blood turned to ice. Every conversation, Lena said. Every confession, every bribe you arranged, every time you admitted you killed Julian, every time you laughed about framing me, it is all here, every single word. She pressed a single button. Evelyn's own voice filled the room, cold and calculating, talking about covering up the murder, about forging medical records, about silencing Lena forever, about how no one would ever believe a silent, broken woman over a respected doctor. Evelyn lunged for the device, desperation taking over, but Lena stepped aside easily, her expression unchanged, as if she were swatting away a fly. It is not the only copy, Lena said. I have sent encrypted copies to people you cannot buy, cannot threaten, cannot silence. Honest lawyers, investigative journalists, the FBI. The second anything happens to me, everything goes public. Your face, your voice, your crimes, they will be on every screen in America before dawn. Evelyn stopped, frozen in place. Complete and total defeat washed over her. You think this will end well for you? She spat, desperation creeping into her voice. You will be ruined too. People will call you a liar. They will say you faked your silence to avoid prison. They will never trust you. Let them talk, Lena said. The truth does not care about their opinions. The evidence does not lie. And you, Dr. Carter, will be the one who goes to prison. You will be the one whose name is synonymous with betrayal. She continued, her voice steady and unforgiving, laying out every destruction she had planned. Your bank accounts have been frozen. Every asset you own, every property, every luxury item you bought with stolen money, is now untouchable. Your clients have been informed of your crimes. They have already begun to distance themselves from you publicly. Your medical license will be revoked before the sun rises. Your husband, who helped you cover up evidence as a corrupt court judge, is already under formal investigation. His career is over. His reputation is destroyed. Your entire world is collapsing, and there is nothing you can do to stop it. Every blow landed perfectly. Evelyn's career, her fortune, her marriage, her reputation, her freedom, gone. All because she had thought a silent woman could not possibly fight back. You destroyed my life, Evelyn whispered, broken, hollow, defeated. Lena looked at her, and there was no pity in her eyes, no sympathy, no mercy. You destroyed yours. she said. "I just handed you the mirror." The news broke at exactly 6 o'clock in the morning. Headlines exploded across every news channel, every newspaper, every social media platform in the entire country. The story spread faster than any scandal in recent memory, sweeping through New York and beyond like wildfire. The silent patient was silenced by her therapist. Dr. Evelyn Carter accused of murder, fraud, and cover-up. Billionaire's widow reveals shocking truth behind mutism. Evelyn Carter, the golden girl of psychotherapy, the trusted advisor to the elite, the woman who had been praised as a genius for her work with Lena Voss, was exposed as a cold-blooded criminal. Videos, audio recordings, financial records, forged medical documents all released at once, flooding the internet and leaving no room for denial, no room for argument, no room for escape. The public turned on her instantly. People who had once praised her now called her a monster. Former clients distanced themselves publicly. Hospitals and clinics cut all professional ties. Her face, once a symbol of success and elegance, became a symbol of greed, betrayal, and violence. By midday, Evelyn was taken into police custody, formally charged with first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit murder, large-scale fraud, evidence tampering, and the illegal restraint of a patient. She was placed in a cell alone, her designer clothes replaced with an orange jumpsuit, her fame and power gone in a single, brutal day. Meanwhile, Lena Voss walked out of the clinic a free woman. She did not scream. She did not cheer. She did not give a dramatic speech to the cameras waiting outside. She did not cry or celebrate or show any emotion at all. She just walked. Silent. Calm. Unbroken. Reporters shouted questions at her. Cameras flashed in her face. Microphones were pushed toward her mouth from every direction. But she did not say a word. She did not even glance at them. Her silence was no longer a sign of weakness. It was a statement. She had let her actions speak for her. The court immediately overturned her murder conviction. All charges were dropped. Independent experts confirmed that she had been manipulated, drugged, framed, and held against her will. The public, once convinced she was a cold-blooded killer, now saw her as a survivor, a hero, a woman who had outsmarted a powerful monster. But Lena did not care about the public's opinion. She did not care about their praise or their sympathy. She cared about one thing only. The truth was not fully revealed. Evelyn Carter had not acted alone. Lena returned to the Voss estate that night, the large, modern mansion on the edge of Manhattan that had once been her peaceful home with Julian. It had been seized during the investigation, held as evidence, but now it was legally hers again. The rooms were empty, the furniture covered in white sheets, the air quiet without Julian's laughter and warmth. She walked through the house not with grief, but with absolute purpose. She went directly to Julian's private study, a room Evelyn had never been allowed to enter, a room where he had kept his most secret, most sensitive files. Deep inside a locked safe, hidden behind a heavy wall panel, she found what she had been looking for since the day Julian died. A single encrypted drive. She took it to her personal computer and unlocked it with a password Julian had given her only weeks before his murder, a password he had told her to keep secret no matter what happened. Files poured onto the screen. Emails. Bank records. Private meeting notes. Security footage. And undeniable proof that Evelyn Carter had not been the mastermind. She had been a pawn. The person who had really wanted Julian dead was the person everyone had believed was his greatest ally, his most loving family member. His older sister, Claire Voss. Claire was the public face of the Voss family, a powerful businesswoman, a beloved socialite, a philanthropist praised by the media and admired by the public. She had stood by Lena throughout the entire trial, crying with her, supporting her, telling the world how much she missed her brother, how devastated she was by his death. She had been the one who first suggested Evelyn Carter as Lena's therapist. She had been the one who encouraged the court to declare Lena unfit to stand trial. She had been the one who funded Evelyn's fraud, who supplied the money for the murder, who helped cover up every last detail. And she had done it all for one reason: power. Julian had planned to remove Claire from the family business immediately after he discovered her own illegal dealings, which were far larger and more dangerous than Evelyn's fraud. Claire had been selling corporate secrets to foreign competitors, manipulating stock prices illegally, and cutting secret deals with dangerous criminal organizations. Julian had threatened to go to the authorities, to end her career, to expose her to the entire world. Claire had chosen to kill him first. She had found Evelyn, a woman greedy for fame and money and willing to do anything to climb higher, and used her as the perfect instrument. She had let Evelyn take the risk. She had let Evelyn commit the murder. She had let Evelyn believe she was in control. And when Evelyn fell, Claire planned to step forward as the innocent victim, take full control of the Voss empire, and let everyone forget the truth forever. Lena closed the file, her face calm, her mind clear. She had known. From the very beginning, she had suspected Claire. The woman's grief had been too perfect, her support too convenient, her kindness too calculated. Nothing about her had felt genuine. Lena had let Evelyn take the fall first. She had removed the obvious pawn. Now it was time for the queen to fall. Claire Voss was hosting a glamorous charity gala at the Voss Foundation headquarters when the arrest happened. She was standing on stage, smiling beautifully at the crowd, talking about her late brother's legacy, about justice and family and hope and love. She looked like royalty, elegant and untouchable, beloved by everyone in the room. Then the large doors at the back of the ballroom opened. A team of FBI agents walked in, moving with purpose, walking straight toward the stage. The entire room fell silent. Every conversation stopped. Every eye turned toward them. Claire's smile did not falter at first. She thought it was a mistake, a misunderstanding, something she could fix with a single word or a quiet check. She was a Voss. She was powerful. She was above the law. Then they read her rights aloud. First-degree murder. Conspiracy to commit murder. Fraud. Racketeering. Selling corporate secrets. Money laundering. Witness tampering. The charges went on and on. The crowd gasped. Cameras flashed wildly. People pulled out their phones, recording every second of the shocking fall of New York's most beloved socialite. Claire's composure shattered completely. She screamed denials. She accused people of lying. She claimed she was being set up by political enemies. She begged for help from the wealthy and powerful people in the room. But it was too late. The evidence was undeniable. Emails between Claire and Evelyn detailing the murder plan. Bank transfers proving Claire had funded the killing. Recordings of Claire planning the cover-up. Witnesses who had finally decided to speak after years of fear. Everything Lena had carefully given to the authorities. Claire was led off the stage in handcuffs, her designer dress stained, her perfect hair messy, her beautiful face twisted with rage and fear and humiliation. Her perfect image was destroyed forever. Her empire collapsed within hours. Her business partners abandoned her. Her friends disappeared. Her political connections vanished. Her wealth was seized by the government. The woman who had thought she could control everything had been destroyed by the one person she had ignored. A silent widow. Lena watched it all from the back of the room, hidden in the shadows, completely unnoticed. She did not cheer. She did not smile. She did not seek attention. She did not feel joy or revenge or satisfaction. She just watched. When it was over, she turned and walked away, disappearing into the night without a sound. 1 month later, Lena Voss stood in front of the newly rebuilt Voss Foundation building in downtown Manhattan. She had taken full control of the organization, cleaned out every trace of corruption, and turned it into a foundation that supported victims of manipulation, fraud, domestic abuse, and medical exploitation. She had become a quiet but powerful voice for people who could not speak for themselves. Reporters still begged her for interviews. They wanted her story, her words, her thoughts, her feelings. They wanted the silent patient to finally speak. But Lena remained silent. She spoke through her work. She spoke through her actions. She spoke through the lives she changed, the people she helped, the justice she brought. People still called her the silent patient. But the name no longer meant weakness. It meant power. It meant that the quietest people in the room are often the most dangerous. That silence is not empty. That silence can be a weapon sharper than any blade. And that no one should ever underestimate a woman who has nothing left to lose. Lena looked out at the New York skyline, the city that had tried to break her, that had called her a killer, that had locked her away, and she smiled a soft, quiet smile. The silent patient had finally found her voice. And she would never be silenced again.
Thanks for watching. Follow for more romance stories.